At 0540 local time, the USS Truxtun was transiting the Strait of Hormuz for the first time in weeks. Dead quiet on the morning watch, nothing on the radar worth a second look. Blind to the bridge crew, an IRGC coastal missile battery near Bandar Abbas tracked the convoy since it hit the Gulf of Oman. At 0541, every passive sensor on board lit up at once. 2 decks below, red emergency lights snap on. Frantic, overlapping voices flood the room. This is the Combat Information Center, the windowless nerve center where every fight on a destroyer is actually won or lost. An RC-135 rivet joint, circling 50 miles south of the strait for 90 minutes, had been sucking up encrypted IRGC traffic all morning. And right now, that traffic is spiking hard. Spy radar paints a wave of low flyers hugging the Iranian coast, 11 tracks, all closing fast. The TAO, the Tactical Action Officer, the lieutenant running the fight from the center chair, is already on the net calling them out. Priority 1, Priority 2. The USS Mason already has the exact same tracks. Both ships link their Aegis systems through cooperative engagement, letting 2 destroyers fight as one single unit. Watchstanders stare down the launch checklist, fingers hovering over the panel, 40 seconds of frantic voice comms compressed into pure motion. The first SM-2 screams out of Cell 17 in Truxtun's forward vertical launch system. 32 cells forward of the bridge and 64 more aft. Each one is a hole in the deck, packed with the right missile for the right job. Then Cell 22 fires. Then the Mason joins the fight from her own VLS bank. 6 interceptors airborne inside 15 seconds. The Aegis system doesn't have a reputation for being polite, and right now, she isn't even trying to be. 40 kilometers out, 2 cruise missiles vaporize in bright flashes on the horizon. From the bridge wing, you can see shredded Iranian guidance electronics raining into the Gulf in slow motion. First kill of the day, and the room doesn't have a second to breathe. That was the SM-2, the brutal workhorse of Aegis air defense. Mach 3.5 closing speed, 90-mile reach roughly Boston to Hartford. The bread-and-butter missile every Burke-class destroyer fires more of than any other. Think of the missile magazine like a toolbox. The SM-2 is your 10mm socket, fits most jobs. You keep a dozen on hand, and you only dig deeper when something really weird rolls in. 11 tracks drop to 8, then 4, then 2. Inland, back at that Iranian missile battery near Bandar Abbas. The commander stares at his launch board. 0 hits registered. That American destroyer was supposed to be juggling 60 inbound threats by now, totally overwhelmed and unable to engage a single one. Yet, the convoy remains unbroken. He keys his radio to push the next wave anyway, but his radar picture isn't getting any cleaner. It's only getting worse. The E-2D Hawkeye orbiting at 25,000 feet calls slow movers from inland. 12 at first, then the count climbs past 30, and they are still launching. Shahed 136 one-way attack drones. Propeller-driven, 180 kilometers per hour, 50-kilo warhead. Someone must deal with them. The Shahed 136 is what happens when you take a lawnmower engine, bolt it to a cheap composite delta wing, strap a 50-kilo warhead on the nose, and tell it to fly into a target for $25,000 a pop. 2,500-kilometer range. That is California's entire length, twice. No sensor, no seeker. Just GPS coordinates punched in before launch and a one-way ticket. The point isn't that a single Shahed will sink a destroyer. The brutal reality? Iran can build these drones way faster than Raytheon can pump out interceptors to shoot them down. That's the math the Iranian commander is betting on this morning. Enter the FA-18 Combat Air Patrol, call sign Gunslinger. 2 Super Hornets from the Lincoln's Air Wing, already on station at 22,000 feet, pushing south to intercept. The Combat Air Patrol is the layer handling drones at range. Every drone an FA-18 downs saves a destroyer or an expensive interceptor. The Mason's TAO calls out again. North pair off the coast, flying right through Gunslinger's airspace. Gunslinger scram. Angels, 35. The Hornets nose over and break station, climbing south out of the missile lane as fast as their F-414 engines can push them. Both pilots aggressively clearing the exact airspace they were just told to vacate. 3 seconds after the last F-18's tail clears the corner, 2 SM-2s punch out of the Mason's forward VLS, threading that now empty lane. Splash. What just played out on the radio is the intense cost of fighting from a destroyer with friendly aircraft stacked right overhead. Think of the airspace above the ship like a 4-lane highway. The destroyer's missiles roar straight up the fast lane at Mach 3.5. The exact speed of the SM-2 we just watched fly. Meanwhile, fighters cruise in the slow lane below. 2 vehicles, 1 altitude, 1 tight window. It just doesn't work. The fighters have to take the off-ramp before the missile gets there. And while the scram is fast, the defensive gap it creates is dangerously real. 50 kilometers inland, a Shahed launch crew preps their 43rd drone of the morning. Every single tube takes 90 seconds to load. Orders were to keep firing until the destroyer screen completely shattered. That screen is holding, so the launches continue. While the Combat Air Patrol scrambles, 4 Shaheds slip right past the fighter screen, pushing inside 30 miles of the convoy. The Mason's forward VLS bank pops cell after cell, 4 missiles streaking out to hunt. 3 drones shred apart at 20 miles in rapid succession. 1 keeps coming. In the Mason's CIC, a sensor operator marks another Shahed splashed, flagging the leaker for a CIWS handoff. 3 ESSM left. The evolved Sea Sparrow. It's the medium-range pinch hitter that quad packs 4 to a cell, letting a destroyer carry 4 times the magazine when threats get close. SM-2 reaches Atlanta. ESSM covers next door. The threat count from the E-2D keeps climbing. That 4th Shahed clears 20 miles, still coming. The White Dome amidship screams to life, locks the drone, and rips a 1-second burst. It disintegrates 1,400 yards out, close enough that the gunner's mate at the port lookout station watches jagged fragments hitting the water. What just lit up the sky is a Phalanx Block 1B, a 20mm Vulcan cannon stuffed inside an R2-D2-shaped dome, dumping 4,500 rounds a minute, radar bolted right on top. It's the destroyer's panic button when SM-2 and ESSM completely miss. Phalanx stops that drone from punching a hole in your hull at 1,400 yards. Up on the Truxtun's bridge, the surface picture finally catches up. 6 fast attack craft spotted at 20,000 yards, closing at 50 knots. The captain faces a choice. He can swing right 30 degrees, putting his strongest radar face on those boats, but that completely blinds his northern radar to the cruise missile lane. He chooses missiles. The incoming boats stay just outside optimal gun range. That's the brutal cost of prioritizing a threat that can actually sink the ship over one that merely scratches the paint. Look closely at SPY's 4 flat panels mounted on the corners of the Truxtun's superstructure. You'll quickly see why a destroyer's radar isn't 1 antenna, it's 4. Each single panel covering its very own slice of sky. No moving dishes, no rotating sweep, no blind spots between rotations, just 4 cold eyes that never blink. Each one tracks everything in its quadrant simultaneously. Any panel can hand off a target track to the others without losing a single millisecond. Right now, SPY is juggling cruise missiles, drones, fast boats, and friendly fighters simultaneously. Turn the ship, and one track instantly gets the weakest face. That's the captain's deadly trade-off. The lead pay cap closes inside 4,000 yards, entering 107mm rocket range. 3 rockets jump off the rail, 2 miss long. One slams the water 200 meters off the Truxtun's starboard quarter. The boat's gunner opens fire with a 12.7mm machine gun. A 25mm mount on the Truxtun's starboard beam finally finds the angle and answers back. Rounds walk past the pay cap's bow, firing 175 a minute. The Iranian boat jinks east. The commander's 3 rockets are entirely spent. Honestly, the Truxtun hasn't even noticed him personally yet. Every single gun he can see on her port side is still deadlocked on the cruise missile lane. He's firing a 12.7, trying to hurt a destroyer. She's busy fighting off what could actually sink her. It's like throwing pebbles at a guy actively wrestling a bear. He knows you're there, he just has way bigger problems. Meet the Mark 38, the destroyer's trusty pocket knife. A single 25mm chain gun bolted securely to each beam. Stabilized to shoot straight in heavy chop. Completely remote operated, packing thermal sights for night work. 175 rounds a minute, lethal out to 2,500 meters, perfect for what's right beside you. Useless for threats 100 miles out. That's fine. Everything past 100 miles belongs to SPY and the VLS anyway. The Mason's Stern CIWS close-in weapon system burns another Shahed, the remaining round count ticking steadily downward. The Truxtun comes right 15 degrees, swinging her starboard radar onto a fresh incoming threat from the northwest. The Mark 38 loses the boat. As the bearings change, he circles back. The captain faces the exact same choice all over again, a tense stalemate inside a missile fight. The commander stares at his radar warning display. The sky above the American destroyers is finally clear for the first time in 20 minutes. The cover is gone. Gunslinger pushes back to standoff range. The Shahed wave is still arriving, trickling over every 90 seconds, leaking from scattered launch sites inland near the Strait of Hormuz. Gunslinger, one fires. An AIM-9X tears off the wingtip rail, turning the Shahed into a confetti cloud at 18 miles. Gunslinger 2 takes the next pair with AIM-120 AMRAAMs, advanced medium-range air-to-air missiles. Radar-guided, fire, and forget. One after another shreds apart at standoff range while the magazines hold steady. On the lead pay cap, the radio stays mostly silent. The commander's been sitting 4,000 yards from the Truxtun for 90 minutes, while the Mark 38 walks another burst across his bow. He just looks east. Open water back toward Casham Island. He hits the radio. 5 remaining boats snap around with him. He punches it to 96 kilometers an hour. Mark 38 fire chases him, but misses the mark. Rounds splash short. The boats vanish northeast into the haze at max speed. Truxtun CIC falls silent after 47 intense minutes. At CENTCOM forward, a watch officer is doing the math. Iran just burned 11 cruise missiles, 43 attack drones, and 6 fast boats on 2 destroyers. Roughly $10 million burned on missiles and drones. The payoff? Empty ocean. Good luck to the IRGC procurement office trying to explain that massive bill. The convoy cleared the Strait of Hormuz choke point. Those boats survived. In 2 hours, the next pair of merchant ships will run those exact same waters. And that commander, with his 5 surviving boats, knows exactly where to find them. What the IRGC commander did not realize, an RC-135 spy plane tracked his retreat the entire way home. The plane listened since contact broke at 0712. The lead boat keys encrypted radio to set ashore rendezvous. The Boeing 707 records the burst. It clocks signal hit times across its fuselage antennas, nailing the spot within 200 meters, then dumps coordinates to Link 16. What just dropped that dot on the map is the massive antenna farm bolted to the aircraft. 30 separate receivers scanning the spectrum, plus Mandarin and Farsi linguists in back who can tag an IRGC unit just from a lieutenant's accent. The Iranians send a text. The Boeing reads every word and logs the number. Iran has known this trick since the 70s. They use encrypted radios anyway, because the only alternative is total radio silence. An MQ-9, flying 28,000 feet up, sweeps the coordinates. 26 minutes later, it hovers over an inlet on Kesh Island's southeast coast. 6 fast attack boats moored at a concrete pier, crews tossing empty rocket pods overboard. Trucks roll in hauling crates. A Reaper operator watches from a dark control room at Creech Air Force Base, Nevada. The infrared sensor locks on to the nearest crate, tube shape, olive drab. The next crate bears stenciled markings. The analyst tags them in 4 seconds, MESOG 2. The boats are not just reloading rockets. They are getting man-pads, man-portable air defense systems. Shoulder-fired surface-to-air missiles built specifically to blast helicopters from the sky. A 200-foot ridge blocks the cove from the strait. To reach them, choppers must fly straight into a coastal anti-aircraft belt. It has been waiting since dawn. Every single gun and missile battery in that belt is online, just staring at the horizon, waiting for a target. 2 Super Hornets carrying GBU-38s form the strike package. 2 A-10 Warthogs carrying loaded GAU-8s. Magazines and paveway smart bombs. 2 Growlers holding jammer pods, and AGM-88s, bombs meant for bunkers. Cannons for the gun pits, jammers for any brave Iranian radar. Time on target, 0834. 14 miles out, the lead Growler pilot flips a switch. A pod under his wing suddenly wakes up. Every anti-aircraft radar searching outward instantly goes completely blind, swallowed by a blizzard of raw electronic noise. Hanging under that Growler's wing is the ALQ-249, the next-generation jammer. It just replaced the 40-year-old ALQ-99. The Navy was still flying those 2 years ago. Same concept since World War II. Drown radar in noise. The difference? Gallium nitrate and an active electronically scanned array. Fighter radar tech stuffed into a pod. It pushes more power and tighter beams than older models managed. Imagine shining a massive floodlight directly into a security camera lens. The camera itself still works perfectly. The lens is fine, but it only sees white. The radars remain online, but they are blind now. But optical anti-aircraft guns do not need radar. 3 ZU-23 dual mounts are dug into that ridge. Twin-barrel 23mm towed mounts aimed purely through iron sights. That is military speak, for simply look at the target and shoot. Lethal out to 2,500 meters, exactly where the A-10s must fly to use guns. The lead A-10 sweeps the ridgeline at 280 knots. Nose down, wings level. He tips into a gun run. The gun rips at 3,900 rounds a minute. That first gun pit vaporizes in under 2 seconds. He brakes hard left. His wingman hits the second mount. The third gun crew is already sprinting for the rocks when rounds obliterate their placement. That sound? The GAU-8 Avenger. A 7-barrel cannon the A-10 was built around. General Electric built the gun. Fairchild Republic built a plane big enough to carry it. Most jets carry weapons. The A-10 is a weapon that carries a jet, like building a house just to hold a massive couch. It fires 30mm depleted uranium shells, heavy enough to punch straight through a tank's top armor. Against a towed gun position, the math is completely ruthless. A mobile SAM, hidden deep in the cliffs, lights up. A Russian-built Tor-M, one short-range SAM, the exact system that chewed up Western jets over Syria, likely survived Operation Epic Fury, smuggled out when Israelis advanced. Its tracking radar locks dead onto the lead A-10. A missile drops from the Growler's pylon, ignites its rocket motor, and screams past Mach 3. The Tor operator spots the launch warning on his receiver and instantly kills his radar. 41 seconds too late. The warhead bursts 8 meters above him. Meet the AGM-88 HARM, high-speed anti-radiation missile, a radar's worst nightmare. Once it has your number, turning off your phone won't save you. It memorized your exact address before you went dark. Inertial guidance takes care of the drive over. The lead FA-18 drops a 500-pound JDAM onto the Tor's reload truck 100 miles down the road. Secondary explosions rip right through the ammo truck. That blue-collar miracle is the JDAM, a 500-pound dumb bomb with a $25,000 GPS kit. It turns Vietnam-era iron into a weapon that hits the exact same parking spot every single time. It is the Pentagon's deadliest, cheapest trick. Take a bomb the Air Force already stockpiles by the warehouse, slap a tail kit on the back, and call it precision. The cove is wide open. Every gun in that belt is destroyed, smoking or hiding. The entire suppression of enemy air defenses took 31 minutes, from the first jammer to the final bomb. The Iranian crews used every minute. Cowboy 21 and Cowboy 22, two AH-64 Apaches forward, deployed to the UAE since March. They crossed the Strait of Hormuz to the coast 18 minutes after the A-10 leaves. Indian 111, an MH-60R Seahawk off the Truxtun's flight deck, holds offshore, just in case a boat runs. The Apaches drop 200 feet over the ridge. The radar saucer above the rotor head immediately sweeps the cove. 6 contacts pop up on the tactical display in under 2 seconds, way before the pilot even spots them on thermal. Down on the lead attack boat, the commander hears the rotors just a second before his threat warning blares. He spent the last 12 minutes watching smoke rise from the anti-aircraft belt. He knew this hit was coming. He keys his radio and screams to his gunner. The missile launcher is already on the deck. Cowboy 21 locks onto the lead boat at 5.5 kilometers. Pickle, an AGM-114L longbow Hellfire, drops from the rail and ignites. Fire and forget. The Apache banks hard the second those fins clear the launcher. Down on the boat, the gunner throws the Missile-2 on his shoulder. The seeker grabs the Apache's engine heat instantly. The tone in his headset locks into a steady warble, and he pulls the trigger. The launch flare flashes blind white, visible from a kilometer away. 2 missiles are now airborne, screaming in opposite directions. But here is the terrifying detail CENTCOM kept from the Apache crews until 20 minutes before takeoff. The man-pads in those crates were not standard missile tubes. They just had fake labels. The seekers were a full generation newer. 2-color infrared with logic gates programmed specifically to ignore magnesium flares. The Iranians had been waiting months for this exact helicopter strike. They bought the upgrade from a third party and intentionally stenciled those crates dead wrong. The Apache's flare dispenser triggers automatically. A massive cloud of white-hot magnesium decoys boils off the airframe. The seeker breaks lock on the engine, catches a brighter heat source, and tracks it away from the helicopter. The missile corkscrews into the decoys, detonating 90 meters off the right side. The crew feels that blast straight through their pedals. The Apache keeps flying. The Hellfire slams into the lead fast attack craft its warhead detonating right at the waterline. The boat snaps in half and sinks in 11 seconds. What just folded a 25-ton fast attack craft, the AGM-114L longbow. 49 kilograms of missile packing a 9-kilogram shaped charge warhead. An 8-kilometer reach, riding a millimeter wave radar seeker that paints its own target. No waiting around for the helicopter to laze it. Picture the Apache as a guy throwing a dart, then walking straight out of the bar before it even hits the board. When that boat finally saw the launch, Cowboy 21 was already hiding behind a ridge. 3 systems just saved that Apache. 1.2 seconds, end to end. The AN/A-57 missile warning system on the tail caught the launch plume. The AN/ALQ-144 infrared lamp strobes, a heat source far brighter than the engines. Backup flares ignite. Pure magician's misdirection. You wave something shiny with your left hand, and your right hand pulls a disappearing act. The missile chased the shiny decoy. By then, the chopper was already gone. First boat down, 3 more raise their MESOG tubes. Cowboy 2 commits on the pay cap hugging the shoreline. Hellfire away, boat erased. The remaining 4 instantly scatter, with 3 gunning for open water at full throttle. 1 pushes back toward the cove, desperate for whatever cover the burning AAA emplacements still provide. Another MESOG launches from the northbound boat. Cowboy 21 jinks hard right, dispensing a fresh flare salvo. The missile takes the bait. Another near miss. The Apache rolls right back onto the target. They are too close now for a Hellfire minimum arming distance. The chin turret chain gun violently comes alive. 1 second burst. The boat instantly catches fire amidships. 2-second burst. It shreds apart. That is the M230 chain gun inside the Apache chin turret. 1,200 rounds of 30mm ADP high explosive. 625 a minute, slaved to the gunner's helmet. 2 seconds of trigger time per boat is pretty generous. Cowboy 21 banks hard right across the smoky cove. The cove-bound pay cap tries nosing against the pier for cover from the burning emplacements up above. Hellfire away. Second missile off Cowboy 21's rails on disengagement. It lands dead square on the engine compartment. The boat violently splits in half against the concrete. 2 boats left, both fleeing for open water at full throttle. Cowboy 22 drops into deadly pursuit from the cove side. Indian 111. The Seahawk, parked offshore this entire time, suddenly rolls in from the open water angle. The boats are totally boxed in. Apache behind them, Seahawk dead ahead. Indian's Hellfire obliterates the lead boat at 4 kilometers. The trail boat desperately breaks south at maximum power, but Cowboy 22's M230 easily finds it. Chain gun walking rounds right across the engine compartment until she totally loses power and starts burning. 6 boats, 6 down. The cove behind them is still heavily smoking from the initial strike. Both Apaches are flying with flare residue heavily streaked along their fuselages, and a jagged MESOG fragment lodged in Cowboy 21's right stub wing. Not nearly enough to bring her down, just enough to make the maintenance officer at Al Dhafra ask a few tense questions when she finally lands. Cowboy 21 climbs east, turning back toward the UAE. Behind her, 2 U.S.-flagged merchants are already pushing into the Strait of Hormuz, 12 miles south of Bandar Abbas. The lane is open. The IRGC claimed the strait was closed. The merchants didn't get that memo. Bye. For now.